Well, welcome everybody. We get some people are starting to roll in. Hello to the regulars and to the folks on this other one. Welcome in. We'll probably get started here in just a couple minutes. So, same business as usual. Cool. Like I said, we'll get started here in about, I don't know, a minute or two. Give some folks time to pile in if they decide to pile in. Guess that midweek slump. But while we're here, I'll kind of do some of the housekeeping stuff, if you're a YouTube later watcher or just to do the housekeeping stuff. And I'm sure everyone here is sick of hearing it, but I'll give you a quick one. We have a YouTube channel. We post all these. We post all these on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel. They all go in that YouTube channel. That QR code should be live and active. If you just go to YouTube and type in decision support, we've got that information for you there. We also have the solutions marketplace. Again, I know everyone in here has heard this spiel 100 times, but I'll give it to you really quick anyways. Great options to decisions, solutions, marketplace. Just good options to get you going, reduce that friction to deployment. So we've got stuff that you can build out. You can kind of fill in the lines between. If you want to implement, you want it to do scorecards, Google Maps, stuff like that. It's got, stuff built in there for you. I think another important point that I don't specify all that often, at least I don't do it every session, but I'll specify it this time because I've got a moment, is that QR code on the top goes to our support page. So we have a decision support channel. Here's all those lunch and learns, right? But a important point to recognize if you're looking for more resources or if you are watching this later on this particular channel is we also have an actual decisions page itself. So if you type in decisions automation is the fastest way I know to find it. But we have an actual decisions page itself, and that hosts all of our webinars. So we just had a really great webinar on healthcare. It says 4 days ago, but I believe it was last week. Maybe it takes a day for them to get it up. Oh yeah, Wednesday, July 31st, right there in that little thumbnail. So if you know that your organization is using decisions for a certain use case, or you are on the fringes of a certain concept, I would also look here in this at decisions on YouTube. So we have at decisions support, and we also have at decisions. So this is going to be mainly the webinars. So again, if you are trying to do something with ChatGPT, you can look in that realm. If you're trying to do Playbook Activity Manager, risk scoring, you name it. And then there are some various other conceptual concepts here, as well as some marketing things if you want to watch some marketing videos. Um, you know, how these things work. Um, to be truthful, I haven't even watched any of these. I probably should. Some of these look like cool stuff that I need to know. So I do wonder who made those. But again, as we go through these, that information is there for you. All right. Um, We have just again a small house today. We've been relatively proud the last couple of days. Not to call you out by name, but we have two Jeremys in here, customer Jeremy and employee Jeremy. Do either of you, customer Jeremy or employee Jeremy, do you guys have any questions or anything I can kind of poke around at? I know that Jared's in the call as well. He's got some robust knowledge. Employee Jeremy's got some robust knowledge. We got Jasmine from documentation. We've got a number of people. Is there anything I know that you're kind of in here daily, but is there something that we can poke and help you with today to kind of give ourselves a little bit of guidance on what we can talk about here. Mr. McNeil or Mr. Ludwinowitz.
Yep, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer or demonstrate it if I can. If not, we can just stare longingly in each other's eyes for a little bit.
I'll see what I've been working on. kind of fill this time with some useful stuff. I know that I was doing QR. I talked about some QR code stuff yesterday. Kind of finalizing some of that stuff. We did that rich text box images yesterday. Jared was able to figure out a solution. It was much easier than we thought it was. It was really just mapping in that information via the email body string, and it did just populate. He sent a test email, and it did populate that image based on the output of this rich text box. So if you weren't here yesterday and you're just watching on YouTube, you're just got that kind of day. Basically, the function of the process would be something along these lines: is it gives you an option to run a form, and I can take a screenshot. I'll take a screenshot of this form, and then I want to paste that in here and send that image as not an attachment, but a part of the body of the email itself. As I go through, I can do test, test, test. Um, and you'll notice that the output data here, it actually included all of that tags and things you would need for the height and width so that it would actually populate. So I think we were overbuilding yesterday and trying to do some overbuilding, but we saw a test and it worked just fine that way. So we just output that body as a string, and then we input that body as a string as well. No crazy formatting or any of that. So
Yeah, another thing to think about too. Can you just debug it one more time,
sure.
Robert?
Yeah, man.
Is this uses the thing on the bottom is just a rich text box, but what makes it have, that much, the bigger real estate is it's just moved across more of the columns of the rows inside of the form. And so that's a paradigm you can use, especially with different controls, where if you want to have it take more real estate and kind of seem more like for example, like the multi-line text box, you can make that occupy more of the space, and then now people can type longer form text with different lines and things like that to it. So don't just leave necessarily, you don't have to leave controls in just one line column or one line row. You can have them expand over more, and then it gives the user a bigger space to interact with, kind of like the form that you saw um, when we debugged this process. So that's all that we did, because that control is just a rich text box. It's just, since it's expanded over more space, it looks like a bigger real estate area, like it's a rich text display, which it isn't. It's a rich text box.
Rich text box. Just again, kind of filling time here. If anybody's got any questions on this side of the line or that side of the line, we can kind of get to take some guidance. But another thing I think is just underutilized. We talked about that decision solutions marketplace, which is good. It's, packets full of flows, forms, rules, you name it, decisions elements. But something that people may not recognize, and I'm sure everyone in here does, but under the system folder, you can go to administration and you can go to features, and we have all these modules that will also help you build some of that stuff out. So separate from those accelerators and stuff that you might find on the example lab, some of this can help you kind of implement some automation into certain processes you already do. So we internally use some stuff with, or we formerly did with Slack, um, based on emails coming in, creating Slack messages automatically in a separate area. But just it's something to be aware of, that as you're building, say you wanted to integrate with Dropbox, there are resources outside of just making like a raw API connection to Dropbox's outbox. We did supply you with some of that stuff. When I click on details, it gives you documentation around it, so kind of how to set some of that stuff up, which is also useful. Yeah, you're not kind of left out in the dark on that. It tells you kind of what each feature does. And again, not all of this is relevant to everybody, but it is an interesting kind of concept. On mine, I installed AWS, OpenAI, and QR codes. And I've used OpenAI and the QR codes. I've not used AWS. I was probably for troubleshooting on a lunch and learn at some point in time. Oh, I'm seeing a lot more. Oh, we get questions in there. Nice. Let's go.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. All right, Q&A.
Oh,
Announcement 10B. Hello, could you show how to loop through a data structure and add it to a new list? Robert, do you want to take that one?
how to loop through a data structure and add to a new list.
And by data structure, let me first ask this. Do you mean data structure like the items of a data structure, or are you talking about like the designer element data structure? Like what specifically? Because there is a little bit. how to that then turn that new list to a data structure. That new list to a data structure. Could you who can I allow to talk? I would like to like ask more about this because I think it's not as simple as I thought. What's your name so I can allow you to talk and get you to expand on it more? Oh, there we go. Hey, I see you now. Cool. All right, Alex. I'm gonna allow you to talk so you can kind of help me and Robert see what you're trying to do.
Sure. Right now I'm working through a couple of data structures that we already have created.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have about three data structures that include, they're basically looking at APIs that are pulling in fields.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, I'm thinking about looping through these data structures and like, because it'll be a list at some point, I guess, or something.
Okay.
Um, and feeding it into a list and then taking that list and just running the first data structure and then the second data structure because the fields are very similar. Like they
Mm-hmm.
both have the same name. They both have name. They both have, let's say, IP address or something or
Sure.
another. And so all of these data structures have all the exact same, almost the exact same layout. And so I'm just going to add those on top of each other, much like a union is the idea. And then add that list into a new data structure just to kind of hold that information, I guess. Or at least I'm going to map those. I'm going to map those data structures to a new data structure. And
Sure. What's the what version are you running in? Version 8 or version 9?
I'm running in 8.
8. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna just demonstrate at 8. I'm gonna demonstrate something. I think maybe this is what we can do. Because if you're
Try
trying to get the go ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say the reason why I stopped screen sharing because I was pulling up the Q&A. We got one on July 25th that seemed reminiscent of this, and I was looking up the name of the step, join types and mapping, where you can take two structures that have similar named concepts and you can map one into the other. Do you know that one?
Yep, I know what you're talking about. I think it's called
I have it as join types in mapping. Yep.
yeah, join type list map. Yeah, you can take in a composite type. Let's say I'm taking in accounts, entities, or whatever, and then I can say the output type. I think the main thing here is you just have to make sure that you've defined what that kind of third data type is that you're going to join together. So you can say, hey, I want to take this data type's properties and this data type's properties and the values within them, and I want to pass them all into this bigger one, and it outputs that kind of join set of data. So let's see if I can demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate this a little bit, and you can see if maybe this would be kind of what would help. So this is going to be my example combined. Right, let's say I have name, IP, and we'll say date. Awesome. So I'm gonna save this and go to my test. And then let's say I want to use I have a case entity, let's say my purchase request object, and then I want to say I have my account object. I'm just picking random objects to demonstrate how it works. And then on my output, or actually, it might need to be something that input type match. Would be a combined list. Sure. Okay. So let's do, and then where's my output type? Recent. Recent. Where is it? Combined. I think that's what I called it. Combined. And then here I have to specify the input property. Why is it only showing characters? Okay. Input property A. Let me go ahead. Let me just try to do entity folder. Or this may, let me look up this. It's been a while since I've used this step. This may be something that can only be used with user defined types. Let me just.
And just for like a full circle, Alexander, I did just send you an email with a timestamp from the Lunch and Learn on July 25th, in case this is relevant, so you want to rewatch it. I, the way that I remember it is you have structure A with values A, B, and C, and then you have structure B that has values A, X, and Y, so that just like they share a field, and then you can output A, B, C, X, Y. instead of duplicating. So like if you have three fields on one and then two fields on another with a matching name type, you can output all five values at the same time. Is that something that you want? Does that sound like something you'd want to do?
Possibly. I mean, in the data structure, I mean, or should I say the entity, and these are entities we created.
Okay.
Um, we have entity one, it has ABC, entity two has ABC, and then entity three has ABC. And I just want to basically stack those on top of each other inside of a bigger list.
Yeah, I think that's perfect for
Just
what
the
it.
property values, or just the property names, or the actual values in them.
The values.
The values. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, then you can, if it's just that, then actually I don't think you even need this. If it's just kind of getting data and getting the values from them. So if I want to
Yes.
join a list of data, I think it's just a,
So I don't actually want their fields. I don't want the entities through one through threes field names, but I do want to stack those fields on top of each other under this new and final, I should say, entity. So there's going to be
yeah,
four
so
in
you're
total.
trying to get like a JSON value pair is what you're trying to get.
Yes.
That's okay. I'm trying to think, what's the way? There's a way to get out. Let's see, what's the type name? I'll make this a constant. Let me test this for a little bit because now I kind of understand. Because that you're saying you want a list of the name and then that. Okay, so yeah, you could do this. So there is now my creative juices are flowing. Let me just do. I want to do
Now,
file data because that's
I will
short.
say that it's already built out. Like we already have the three data structures already built out, like the entities. So now I
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out how to actually open up the entity and then map it to this, new entity, I should say, and then drop it in its respective buckets, the fields that I need.
Yeah, or the values. Well, because basically what I would do is if you have a couple of different types, there's a get JSON. What is it? Get data pairs from JSON object. That would work. Get value. No, where is it? There's a specific step I'm thinking of where we go to, and if I'm totally off base, just let me know. There is I think it's data. We go to advanced, and it's get property names on object. And so what I would do, so let's say you have three of these, right? I'm going to loop through for each, and let's say I know the data types for these. So this is going to be, actually, I probably won't loop through it, but what I can do here is I'm going to pass in an account object that comes in. So let me go ahead. How do I do this? Let me fetch this. I might just trying to think of how to get the data to it. Let's do an easy, simple fetch entity step. So now what you can do is I can get results here. I'm going to grab the accounting object. Well, actually, let's do, yeah, account object. Just for demonstration. Select from flow. I'm just going to grab the first one. I only need one to get the object. And then what this thing does is it allows us to get just the values that make this up. So let's say, hey, I get this one, and then on the output of this one, you can loop through it again, grab, another data type. Let's say this is um, the groups table, and then I can use you can do use a create data step that allows you to create a list of strings or a list of the property names, right? We can just call this prop names, right? And then when you do that, you can build the array and say, I want to join the arrays, and you can combine that into a single list. Then on the output of this step, it will give you the list of the properties. And then what you can do is grab the data here, right? You can probably display this in a form. There's many ways you can display this data. But once you grab this list of information, then what you can do is we can go back to my local. And then when you create a data type for the integration, so let's say I wanted to create a database, there's this quick add. And what you can do is you can then type in, paste in all those names and then create it. I don't know how big yours is, but this is a way where you can kind of quickly create that combined data structure for that. if you're trying to do it via go ahead. I saw you go off mute.
Oh, I wanted to also as just to make sure this doesn't you won't so in my three entities when I'm like combining these, I'm not each one has A, B, and C fields, but I want to make sure that each record in A, B, and C stay together. I don't want them to be mixed and jumbled up.
Mixed and jumbled up. So
I'm just making sure that that won't happen in this method.
no, so there's no delineation of yeah, so no, that's just combining strings together. It's not going to be,
Okay.
you would have to like add like, hey, this is account props, and then new line account props. You have to have a more like in-depth process that you can do to like delineate, this is for the account object, this is the group object properties, and then this is for the other part object properties, and then in your list it'd still be one long list of strings, but it doesn't really delineate in that manner.
Okay.
The other, I was trying to see if there's ways, going to internal services. If I go to the data structure, or is it configuration storage database? It's configuration storage. Configuration storage, and I think is there create data structure? Create truth table, find configurations. There isn't. Just get designer items. Yeah, I was wondering if maybe in here there was like a create data type, and you can like say like you pass in the credentials of the data type you want to create, but I don't see that type of step in here. So the best case probably would be, yeah. And I would actually would say, have you submitted like a support ticket? Your question, it's a little, I don't think I really answered it well. I think that would be a question that if you submit a support ticket, get on a call with someone, you can demonstrate what you're trying to do. And maybe you can get a better result. But from what I understand, I think this would be the path you would have to go just to get the list of property names with it. And then you can import the data later.
Okay. I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I try one? I know we're getting the Q&As going. Can I try this one thing, Jared?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. This is just again, I don't know how I just made a new, let me share my screen real fast. I just made a new list because you're going from 2 to 1 rather than or you're going from 2 to 1. You have three structures, and the example I in the video I had three, and I haven't fully built it out, but and I emailed it to you, but I just made a third one called Field C, I believe. I think I called this Tyson, maybe. What was the name of that step? Apologies. It was called the join types. Okay, cool. So hopefully there it is, Tyson. It's in project. Um, in this in this world, basically how we had it set up originally was he had two structures. I made a structure called list A, or a structure called A that has fields A, B, and C, and then I had another structure with fields called list B with fields B, X, and Y. So these share a variable, and we can test in another capacity. But with that list join types by list mapping, you can go input type A, input type B. But I'll actually output that third one that I made that I just made called something C maybe. Recent maybe. Wish I remember what I called it. Oh, I called it your name, Alexander. I remember that now. Yep, there we go. Boom. All right. So now let me kind of refresh some of this stuff. Make sure we're in the right area here. Clear it. Give me 1 second to go back in here and build data or not. Apologies, training containers. So what you could, now that I've done that, I have input A coming in with A. I can map it into A, B into B, C into C, and X into X, and Z into Z. So if I save this, let's test to make sure that actually went through. Let's see what it looks like when we debug. So yeah, we're getting that all that data consolidated into one structure. And that might be similar as well. Again, I had a whole data structure with data, apples, bananas, and cantaloupe, and then I had another structure with X, Y, and Z, and I chose to map them in, and I'm outputting that third data structure that I just made for you called structure Alexander. So that might help you merge those together as well. I don't know
Okay,
if
and
that's
using the join types list mapping.
Yep. And I sent you an email with the timestamp of when I talked about this for like 20 minutes with who I guess the person who asked, the name was Tyson. Um, but yeah, it's a joint types list mapping where you can take two different input types and you match which properties may be matched between the two. And then you go to show item mapping editor and you can map the outputs of those two inputs into a third completely separate. Again, this is list B and list A and list B into a third structure that I named with yours that has similarly named fields so that when I run that flow, it does map all that data into the third structure.
Okay,
But
that
again, like
looks
I would kind of go with what Jared said because it sounds like kind of a little bit of a nuanced ask. Like I would definitely check in with support because they can watch your build and maybe give you a second opinion. But I just wanted to test to make sure that that part would kind of work in a loose capacity.
okay. Well, I appreciate it. I should be building today, and then I'll see how it goes. I'll use some of the methods you guys showed today.
Cool, man.
Sounds good. Glad we can
Thank
help.
you.
All right. Any other questions that we can help? Peter or Jeremy?
I did have a question from our side of the line that I'll just kind of use to give some time. I think it's always informative, and thank you for the question about like unit tests and how to provision the rules for unit tests, explaining the outcome rules to a unit test. So I'm going to work in 9 just because I like the fact that there's a consolidated area for unit tests. I know that I have some built out somewhere, not in this one. Nice. The reason why I'm building it in 9, and I'll show you the back side of it or the front side of it as well. But on the later end, the cool thing about Unit 9 is you do get, or version 9, is you do get this consolidated area where you can run all of your unit tests all at one time against that rule. So how these unit test rules work, I'm just trying to figure out what flow we're in. Unit test flow. Cool. So the question was related to how those work. Unit test flow. So how this is going to end up working is I have a quick build out here with just a divide step and 2 inputs. So my inputs are first number and second number, which I can set up. So as I set up inputs and I go to debug the process, it will give me those options here in these fields. I can save this information as a unit test, but I'll kind of just, well, actually, I'll go ahead and do that. We'll see what we're doing here. We're dividing the second number by the first number. So if I was going to make this as a unit test, what I would want to do is I can add a new one and it will be a real similar field. And I can go the second number, I want to divide 6 by 3. And I know that the output of that step should be 2, right? So, and I'll call this should be 2. And as I add this rule, it will give me the ability to assess a outcome or a variable and what it contains. So for this, I'm going to say, does the divide output equal, and I could do less than or something like that. Again, this is just for math logic. Does this equal 2? So because I put it equals 2, it should pass now. When I save this, should be 2, that rule passes in green. If it did not equal 2, right? If I went and edited that and said, hey, let's make it very easily going to fail. We'll say, does the uh, initiating user equal that? This will certainly fail. So it just gives you a true or false kind of check or fail pass kind of thing saying, oh yeah, the empty string does not equal because I don't have in my account, I don't have my full username set up for when I made my account in decisions. It will always fail. And again, kind of looping back to where I started, great thing about version 9 is here on the info tab, we have this unit tests. And as I add unit tests, it adds it in here and I can run all of those at the same time. And again, I have an error with one of these, but I'm not going to trouble. Oh, I know what it is. It's because I can't divide 0 by 0. One of these is set up to be 0 by 0, and it creates an exception. But um, yeah, that's how you set up rules for unit tests. So adding an outcome rule, you're just basically saying, hey, does this variable or does this thing equal less than, greater than, whatever verb you want, something else. And you can program it so you can run it. If you add things to a flow or remove things from a flow, you can make sure that you have the outcome functionalities that you want there at the end. So that is unit tests on version 9. Thank you for the question on the inside here. We got another one there, Jared. So from Peter, thank you. Can you explain what data pairs are commonly used for and how they work? I tried to use them to create what would be a dictionary in Python to use as the index for a table of data to avoid repeatedly looping. I found it a little unintuitive. That's definitely going to be one for Jared to scoop up on. So I'll stop my share. See if he can pick that one up for me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You asked this one. What data pairs are commonly used for, how they work. I was actually just experimenting based on Alexander's question. So I'll kind of show you what I've been experimenting with, and maybe this is helpful to you. So what I have here, can you see my screen? Perfect. Is there is a step inside of decisions called get path name data pairs for JSON, kind of what you're talking about, Peter. And what I did is I just created a form that just said, hey, here's the name, which is the property name, and here's the value. And let's say I wanted to display a list of these just to know, like, what are the properties that I'm dealing with my data structure here. In order to send this, you have to send a serialized JSON text through to it. So that's why I have this serialized step. I'm just serializing this kind of file data object and sending it through. And when I debug this, what you're going to see is I'm actually going to let me grab the last property. It might be pretty long. I think the last property is the content. So that one's going to be pretty long, but I think this will be a good, let's see, last, we'll go name. And then over here, I want to make sure that I grab the last here. Perfect. And then sure, I will choose a file. Let me go ahead and just grab this one, some error logs, boom. And then we have the value. Yeah, that's just kind of a long kind of byte string that got converted. So that's why it looks kind of ugly there. But we have the property name it came from was content. So it's basically, the use case is if you want to actually leverage the actual property type. So let me kind of disconnect this here. Debug, let me do what Robert demonstrated. I'm gonna create a unit test so I don't have to keep adding this. I'll say this is my file, unit test. And save this, now I can just run this and I don't have to worry about running that again. Is if I want to have like the ID property and the value available at both of them, then I can use these data pairs and just display. Like if I want to do like, hey, let me have an audit of my data types and what I have for my objects, and I want to display to an end user, hey, these are the properties on these objects. So I think a fun example, let me kind of create this on the fly. I think it'd be really cool. Is let's say I have this combined one that I just created. So cool. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and create another data type. And let's go ahead and grab the let me just grab another one. I'll say this is example. What did I name the other one? Combined. I'm gonna name this combined 2. We'll say this is combined 2, and we'll have different properties here for it. Awesome, so we got that there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna just create some test data for both combined. Let's see, these are all databases. So I got combined, create combined, and then create combined 2. So now this one, I'm just creating data so that I can serialize that information and kind of show, let's say it's 192.168 dot 1.43 short. And then the name is, we'll do Jared. And then this one, we'll just do random test data right here. So I'm going to build data. We'll say this is test, or we'll say this is my value here. And then I can say another value. Boom. All right. So now I'm going to debug this. It's going to create these. Boom. So now I got it. I'm going to go back into my other flow, my test steps flow. And let's say I want to get kind of all of those kind of items and just kind of see them and what they are. I wonder what these, because right here it outputs as a list of data pair. And I wonder, I can create a really cool, yeah, this is actually gonna be pretty cool. So what I can do is I'm gonna go ahead and fetch this. Fetch entities. And I'm gonna actually get, yep, I'll have to serialize both of these. So I'll actually need, and this is just a demonstration of like what you could create. It's probably not gonna be the most performant. So there'll be that caveat there. You'll wanna make sure that it is performant, whatever you are building. Attach the done here. We'll attach this done here. If it errors out, we'll go here. If we have results, we will go here and I'll grab another one. We'll go here and results will go here and both the no results path. Go this here. Okay, let's kind of clean this up so we can kind of see what's going on here. Let's say this one should go down here. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And then we're going to say this one's the combined one. Combined. Combined. And this one's combined too. Boom. And so now when I add this, and I'll say this one instead of file data, I'm going to say this is combined. That'll be the first one. And then, yeah, we can clear that input. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say that this one is another combined. But this one's combined too. All right, cool. And then I can edit this and I can say, let me make sure that we get the JSON deserialized. And this is for the combined two. I'll say output C2. And this one, I'll call this output C1 just so I can distinguish between the different data types. And let me go ahead and map those elements here. Let me say this is the C2 entity results because that's why these things aren't happy because they're outputting the same data type but different things. And so now what we're going to do is this one's combined. So we're going to grab the combined, grab the first one. And then what we'll do is we'll get the output from that to get the paths. And this is going to be the JSON serialize of C1. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to grab the first, we're going to go done. And then this one is going to grab the output for C2. What is the output? C2. All right, cool. And then let's say I want to join, let's see, what are these things? This is get data pairs for output C1, and then the get data output for C2. So they're both outputting a list of data pairs. Now with these data pairs, I can then display these different objects on different forms or on a form. So let me go ahead and I'm going to add that show form step that I had before. And let's say I want to, or let me make a data repeater. I think this would be cool if I created this data repeater. So if I want to display a list of the data pairs, so I'm going to say display data pair repeater. I'm going to remove one column because I don't need that one column. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a, let's see if I can select, I think I should be able to select data pairs. So I can select that data pair. Boom, it's a decisions framework type. Okay, cool. So now I got that. And then I can say my label here See if I can make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it. 16, so make it, yeah, that's perfect. And then I could say this is the one that's going to go form data. This is going to be the name. And then the other one's going to be the, yeah, that's perfect. Text from data name. And this one's going to be the output value. And then what's the value as incompatible type string to an object? Output value, I think should be fine. Yep, it should work. So now, if I close and save this, I'm curious to see how this works. Go to testing JSON. Let me grab my data repeater. Data repeater. Pick the data source, display data pair data repeater. Let's see if it blows up and if it doesn't like it. I'm gonna say this is the data pair list. I go back to testing steps, show form. I can put this here, grab this, join testing form. We'll list data pair, perfect. And then what I'll do is I'll actually join list. I think there's a join list one. Nah, we just use create data, create data, created data, create data. And then I'm just going to make this a list of data pairs. Boom, is list. And this is going to be a joined a list. And if I save this, then what I can do is I'm going to add the join arrays, add another array, and then I'm going to grab the data pair values of C1 and C2, making a joined list. That one was, I think that's, I might have hit the same one twice. Yeah, I did. I knew it's something. And so now if I select this, the join data pair list, and then I debug this, I should get the properties. This I can ignore. And then now I give all the different properties for my value here. So I got the ID of that database, the test name, the value that I put in, the ID, the name Jared, IP. And so I can easily see, so you can use the data pairs, display it one in a data repeater, or you can display it in a report if you're curious like what different data types are. That's something I guess you could do. Not sure if that's a recommended way, but it's if you ever need to get just a certain data pair pairing of JSON and send it to an external system or send it to another system that needs it a certain way, we have that kind of list of data pair objects or that data pair object and decisions so that you can just get that single data pair item that you're looking for. So I don't know if this was helpful. It may have answered your question. If it didn't, I don't think we actually put you come off mute. Let's have you come off mute so you can like expand on that because I forgot to do that. So
yeah, no problem. That was helpful.
okay.
It doesn't exactly address what I was doing, but that's fine. I just wanted to see kind of what you guys use data pairs for, because I wasn't sure. So thank you for that.
Sure. Okay. Cool. All right. Any other questions? All right. I don't see any more questions. I think this is a good stopping point. I appreciate everyone who attended. This has been great. We'll definitely go ahead and post this. So if you want to see this online to refresh your memory on the different questions and answers that we provided, it will be up there on YouTube. Let's see. I think tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's our last lunch and learn. Robert, if you can share that screen. I don't think I have the PowerPoint up quickly, but I think tomorrow is Robert. Is it you who's running it again? Jeremy. Okay, so tomorrow we'll have Jeremy running the Lunch and Learn, so he'll be another great resource. And if you have any questions that you want to ask Jeremy, he'll definitely be able and give you some great insight on what to do. So thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you guys next time.